Okay, and now we go over to Janne Kilpeläinen. Hello.
Hello.
Janne. How are you?
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
Very good, loud and clear. Where are you from?
I'm actually looking from my window, seeing snowy, white, -15-degree weather here in Finland, in Oulu.
Wow, nice. It sounds nice. We need some freezing temperature also here in the Netherlands, so we can do some speed skating. Hey, I would like to give you the floor. Do you have a presentation with you today, Janne?
Yeah. I have.
I think I can add it to the
me-
screen.
if I
Yes, here it
can-
is.
Can I share my screen?
Oh, you can share your screen, but you can also work with what we have on the screen right now, if you like it like this.
Maybe it's easier for me to share my screen.
Yeah, that's also possible. Here you go.
Yeah, you see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. So I have my controls here as well. Yeah,
Yes.
looks like it.
Okay. Well, enjoy the stage. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Walter. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I guess it's the midday here in Finland. So depending where you are, it's morning or afternoon. So my name is Janne Kilpeläinen. I work for Haltian. I look after Haltian sales and marketing. And as you can see, IoT is hard, and our job is to actually make it easy. And Haltian's IoT solutions enable quite a few different use cases across business verticals, and we focus our expertise on helping our customers to collect various types of data using our Thingsy IoT sensor solution, but then also provide an employee experience solution for workplaces, for example, for offices and hospitals. So today our focus is on smart and healthy buildings. So during the next few slides, I'll be having a brief overview on indoor air quality, why it matters, what to measure, and how to do it, actually. So let me just click this through. So these days, people spend actually more time indoors than ever before, and thanks to probably also because of the current pandemic as well. So some estimate that it's up to 90% of our time that we spend indoors. At least I feel that way now during the last year, more than a year at least. And that's why it's quite easy to understand why we place so much importance on the air we breathe. And one of the biggest questions in the last few years has been the effect of indoor air quality in places like offices and schools, where people must spend several hours a day. And according to recent studies, many workplace-related health issues can be related to indoor air quality problems. And concerns over the effects of poor indoor air quality to people's health, productivity, and employee well-being have been raised, but the causes of people's symptoms often remain unclear. And as a result, companies and building managers struggle to find and fix indoor air quality issues. There are plenty of things that affect indoor air quality, starting from outdoor sources like exhaust gases, vehicle emissions, industrial emissions, and construction activity, for example. The list is quite long. And then also internal pollutant sources can be things like maintenance activities, chemicals, cleaning solutions, building materials, even new furniture and finishes, or office equipment, and so on, but also occupant activities and people themselves. And to be more energy efficient, buildings nowadays are built much denser than before. And while the new building techniques have made buildings more energy efficient, it has also reduced the exchange of indoor and outdoor air in buildings. And most of the air ventilation and exchanges done through building automation and different HVAC systems. And as a result, if the ventilation is not working right, indoor air is affected immediately. And to get started with the indoor air quality monitoring, it's important to know what's monitored, what are the common benchmarks for good air quality, and what things affect the indoor air quality itself. And of course, it's part of the employee experience as well that we offer for our most important asset, employees, while they are at the offices. So why does it make sense to measure indoor air quality as such? So employees are companies' greatest asset, and investing in their comfort and health can be said to pay itself back in many times in reducing sick leaves, absenteeism, or higher productivity, and being able to keep the best workers in-house. And offering the best possible working conditions play quite a big part in this. And in general, good indoor air quality reduces workers' dissatisfaction with their working environment. Employees are also nowadays quite a lot more aware of the indoor air quality, probably because of the pandemic, for example, and its impact on their performance. There's actually a study called Moving to Productivity, the Benefits of Healthy Buildings. That's the name of the study. The researchers found that better indoor air quality reduced employee satisfaction on the scale they used. Bad air quality can also significantly affect the occupant's health. Commonly, health issues caused by the air quality depending on the person's individual sensitivity, which makes them hard to catch. So irritation on eyes, skin conditions, coughing, fatigue are among the common symptoms. And in extreme cases, people get permanently sick and cannot work, resulting in, for example, in absenteeism or sick leaves and even loss of work ability. About the sick building syndrome. So in US, there's a EPA, United States Environmental Protection Agency, who have defined a kind of like a sick building syndrome. So it's used to describe situations in which building occupants experience acute health and comfort effects that appear to be linked to time spent in the building, but no specific illness or cause can be identified. And SBS has been reported to be caused by high level of CO2 or pollutants in indoor air, and it's described to be a kind of like a collection of non-specific symptoms. For example, these eye, nose, and throat irritations, or different headaches, nausea, dizziness, and these kind of things as well. And this has been studied quite a lot. And especially CO2 levels have been seen impacting this greatly. But then about the kind of like a productivity and performance as well. So poor indoor air quality also affects people's cognitive performance, so the ability to make decisions, for example, and productivity. So a lot of studies have shown that increase in VOC, for example, concentration, so volatile organic compound concentration, that can reduce cognitive scores by up to 13% based on these tests that the researchers have done. And good job satisfaction is known to raise productivity, obviously. And of course, the less sick leaves means higher productivity and cost savings for the companies as well. And a little bit more recent aspect of indoor air quality monitoring has been the prevention of airborne viruses, and more precisely the prevention of COVID. And it's been shown that COVID virus spreads on the closed spaces. Poor ventilation in closed indoor spaces increase the transmission of respiratory tract infections, such as influenza and COVID. And in addition, the report states that ventilations with outdoor air or air filtering help to dilute contaminants and increase the time required for exposure as well. So let's look at a little bit more closely what we actually measure. Typical kind of like elements that we measure are, for example, CO2 levels. And typically that's given as part of the parts per million. So commonly outdoor air, for example, it contains about 380, 400 parts per million CO2. And of course, if you're outside, if you are nearby traffic or industrial areas, that might be a little bit higher as well. But with indoor air quality, the monitoring CO2 levels is a good indicator to help ensure the ventilation systems are working well and delivering the kind of like a needed amount of fresh air to the premises. So for example, before you choose a meeting room, you can check if the CO2 levels are still high, or has the air been circulated so that the air is fresh and you can have your meeting in the meeting room. So in this chart, there's a kind of a couple of levels that gives an indication of a good CO2 levels in an indoor office. And there are actually several research showing the impact of CO2 levels on performance and cognitive skills. So for example, in 2017, Harvard released a study where they tested kind of like 3 levels of CO2 concentrations. The lowest was 600 parts per million, the other one 950, and the highest one was 1400 parts per million, so quite high already. And having a higher CO2 levels in an office air, for example, it actually equals for example, a couple of levels of or shots of alcohol in your blood. So that's the impact you may have from poor air quality and high CO2 levels in the air. Another element we measure is the VOCs, so total volatile organic compounds. Like CO2, VOCs can also come from the human body. It could be through sweat, breath, skin, transpiration, and so on, and can be emitting things like ammonia or acetone and so on. But most commonly, VOCs come from the air from the outside sources. So, for example, any manufacturing processes, cooking, cleaning agents, furniture, coating, flooring like carpets, but also from scented candles or perfumes and cosmetics. So they are not necessarily always bad smells, but there's a lot of these sources for VOCs. So typically, when we monitor the VOCs, we kind of like combine them in one measurement. So TVOC means the sum of these volatile compounds in the monitored air. And then on to kind of like the temperature and humidity. And when talking about the indoor air quality, the kind of like a temperature should not be forgotten in a way that people feel temperature in very different ways. So, and it's relative as well to how people experience it. So some people like it to have it cool. Some people like it warmer. And it's a kind of like important element of anybody implementing, for example, activity-based working in their offices. So that gives people the freedom of choice of choosing the areas they want to work with. Typically, the most common temperatures range between 20 to 23 degrees, and the humidity is somewhere between 30 and 50. And that's also a good measurement also for monitoring the risk of having mold building up in the building structures, for example, or HVACs as well. So it's always a combination of temperature as well as humidity in the buildings. The higher the temperature with the higher humidity, that increases the likelihood of mold building up somewhere in the building. So how to measure indoor air quality? So far we've kind of introduced what's monitored when talking about the indoor air quality and why indoor air quality is important. Like with any new kind of a new projects, it's good to plan and process, plan the kind of a indoor air quality monitoring journey. So you plan, you gather data, you analyze the data, you report the findings and plan the actions accordingly as well. And it's kind of important to set the benchmarks and goals for the when you start measuring and monitoring the data. So start with something that you wish to track, focus on the key parameters like CO2 or TVOC, and research what solutions fit you the best. And that's how you start the journey towards healthier work environments. Indoor air quality can be done as a continuous testing or with one-time testing as well. With continuous monitoring, you'll receive real-time data of your premises at all times. And this is the way you'll be able to consider different times of the day and week and compare the results as well. And this is the data-driven approach to healthier work environment. With one-time testing, usually a professional, somebody professional, for example, from the facility management, is subscribed or ordered or asked to do the air testing. And with this kind of approach, you only get the snapshot of the air quality, making it quite difficult to compare results or make continuous improvement to the indoor air quality. And of course, then choosing a solution how to do that. And this is where we typically step in. You need some hardware, sensor devices, gateways. You need to have those devices connected as to the cloud, sending the data, as well as to manage the devices accordingly as well. Plus then the services or software for data analysis and visualization. And when choosing the air quality monitoring devices, a good place to start is to know what you actually want to track. And as mentioned, CO2, TVOC levels, as well as temperature and humidity are pretty much the most common ways of starting to measure the air quality. A couple of ideas of what to check and what aspects to think about when starting the air quality testing. So, for example, doing a questionnaire amongst the employees, have you had any issues or complaints on bad air quality in the premises? Can you identify certain areas, for example, already in the office? Do people report any symptoms for these? Do they report it in officially or unofficially? Do you have channels as well for people to report these issues? Do you want to do also kind of like certifications like LEED or WELL certification for your buildings? Are there any particular high occupancy areas that people use the most that require your attention? And are there some areas that you can link this into your energy savings as well? For example, using ACs or heatings and so on. But then also that can you link the air quality data with other smart office use cases as well? So not necessarily think of it as an isolation and single kind of smart office, smart building exercise, but is there a way you can leverage it to other uses as well? So if you think about the typical use of an office and different stakeholders who use the office spaces, it's a lot more than just the indoor air quality as well. So from the occupants or premise users' point of view, obviously the visualization of the indoor air quality is one thing, but then you have the people who lease the premises, you have other stakeholders for using the premises as well, probably using the same tools as well, and using the same kind of like IoT infrastructure as well to do these things. You have different technology vendors, service providers, facility managers, asset managers, even building owners and interior designers, for example, for the office. And they all are able to use the same system as well that visualizes and shows the air quality aspect of it. Could be also occupancy data or combining the occupancy data with for different use cases. So from our point of view, we provide this as a kind of like a one package. So indoor air quality is just one use cases that the IoT systems enable. So the same kind of like a sensor network can be used to collect, well, for example, occupancy and visitor counting data as well, and use that for utilization tracking use cases. So you can combine how people use the spaces with the indoor air quality as well. And of course, also depending on the application itself, the space booking for meeting rooms and desks can be enabled, supporting activity-based working at the office. And like I said, indoor air quality is a kind of like an essential part of the activity-based working and the employee experience you can provide at the office. So rarely air quality is treated in isolation, but it's kind of like an essential part of an overall smart building experience. Our sensor solution is software agnostic, so we operate with various solution dashboard analytics providers who take the sensor data from our sensors and then represent it for their users the way they want. But then also our software solution, Empathic Building, is hardware agnostic, so we can combine not necessarily our sensor data, but someone else's sensor data or building management system data for the users accordingly as well. Empathic Building is a kind of like employee experience solution that helps people to perform the best they can while they're at the office, and it reduces the kind of the friction of the microtasks that you perform during the day. And it's a kind of like an essential part of supporting that kind of activity-based working culture in any office or hospital as well. Just briefly about Haltian, we've been around for about 10 years. We're based in Finland. This year is actually our 10th anniversary, later this year. We operate about 200,000 active IoT devices, operating meaning giving support and maintenance and enabling for our customers. Everything we do is designed in-house, manufactured in Finland as well, and we are AWS partners as such. But that's pretty much in short about Haltian and indoor air quality.
Wow, thank you very much, Janne. I have a question to you, if that's okay.
My pleasure.
So this was about indoor air quality. You've been working already for 10 years on these smart and healthy buildings. I can imagine that the last couple of years, of course, this indoor air quality was a major issue because of the pandemic. But before the pandemic, what were like the major opportunities for building owners?
We mainly work with tenants, so occupiers actually. And typically our customers are the ones who, for example, lease the spaces, and they want to provide a user interface, for example, for the people who use the offices and premises. And they take, for example, empathic building into use. And empathic building gives that visual interface for space booking, supporting the activity-based working in the office, and so on. Recently, we started to work with some real estate developers and exploring that opportunity as well. And some of the developers, they want to move into that direction as well, that building added value for their premises, so that ensuring that the customers they work with, so customers who actually lease the spaces, they could potentially already have these kind of solutions in place. But a lot of times there are different kind of solutions in that area. But mainly we work with companies who operate multiple offices, for example, from the empathic building point of view. Yeah. But then also for smart building people, our sensor solution, a lot of kind of like anybody who wants to start collecting the data for preventive maintenance, for example, type of use cases for buildings, they've taken our sensor solution as well. So kind of like preventive maintenance, from our point of view, preventive maintenance is the kind of like a driving use case for some of our customers for when they are maintaining their buildings.
Yeah, and where is, because we talk a lot about smart buildings or data collecting out of buildings. Where do you see is the most valuable business case for tenants or building owners or asset managers? Where do you get the most exciting about when they start working together with you guys?
Yeah, I think it's the analytics. Somebody has said at some point that we are now in the same situation as we were with websites 20 years, 15 years back when Google brought in the Google Analytics.
Okay, cool. So yeah. And now you get analytics of the buildings.
Exactly, yeah. So we can see where people spend their time, where do they come from, where do they go, on what areas they spend most of their time, and that's something that our solutions can provide, this kind of like analytics and insights, collecting the data, and then use that data for better decision making. If it's about the planning of or design of the office, for example, or things like that. So I think that's where most of the customers are excited that you can actually quite easily or pretty much overnight start collecting this data and then use it according to your business.
And when websites, they are like 20 years ahead maybe of real estate. How do you see real estate being able to adopt these new kind of insights and technologies and data? Is it going fast enough for you? Maybe that's a different question.
Yeah, I'd say that people are rational in a sense that if there is a business case and if there is a need, they will make those decisions, and it's easy for them to make those decisions as well. Yeah. And for example, the use of spaces, understanding the utilization rates and understanding how people are using the spaces, it's a kind of like a rational, line of thought that you think. You collect the data, you see how your spaces are used, and then based on that you can make rational decisions. So I think these kind of like use cases help. Or the other one is that once you start collecting data about the technical areas in your buildings, that helps you to start predict as well maintenance needs, for example, and allows you to give better service levels, for example, for your tenants or your customers as well.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of opportunities for many real estate professionals left over. So I hope they will reach out to you. Are you going to MIPIM in a couple of weeks' time?
We are participating in MIPIM. So happy to meet my colleagues or myself there as well.
Cool. Well, I'm happy to see you there as well. So enjoy Cannes as well, and enjoy the weather right now in Finland. Thank you very much, Janne.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, everyone.
And see you soon.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was an amazing presentation of Janne from Haltjen, all the way from Finland.